Hello friends, welcome to our channel, where stories of love and passion unfold. Let's start our exciting journey into the world of human relationships. Mila sat in the car and looked at the navigator screen. Everything was right. She had arrived at the right address. All that remained was to gather her strength and do what she had planned. Mila took a deep breath and resolutely got out from behind the wheel. She walked 50 meters and stopped at the entrance to a small coffee shop. Coffee Paradise was written on the sign. Yes, the name is so heavenly, Mila's mind raced. She was about to enter it, but suddenly her willpower left her. Or maybe she should just give up, get in the car and drive as far away as possible. No, Mila would never do that. That wasn't why she'd come here. She yanked the handle and pulled the door open and walked in. Now she would see her husband's mistress and the destroyer of the family home. What did she know about this girl? Not much, actually. The insidious divorcee is called Kitten, but it is, of course, so affectionately calls her husband, and she works in this coffee shop as a waitress. Mila chose a seat at a table near the window and waited for someone to come to her to take her order. Here comes the waitress. It was definitely her. Mila recognized the girl she had glimpsed in the photo, and she was just heading to her table. A few seconds seemed like an eternity to Mila. So many different thoughts ran through her head that it seemed enough to fill a thick book. "Good afternoon," greets the waitress, and Mila glances at her name tag. Katya. So, that's what her name is. Yeah, her husband doesn't have much imagination, calling Katya a kitten. Meanwhile, Katya, unaware of the thoughts swarming in the visitor's head, continued. "Can I offer you a menu? When you are ready to order, call me." Mila smiled her most radiant smile, and in the meantime, she looked at her rival as if she were studying her under a microscope. How did it happen that she found herself face to face with her husband's mistress? It's a long story, but all in order. For 10 years, Mila has been happily married to Alexei. Or rather, was happy, or at least she thought so. They have a child, a daughter. She's 8 years old. Alexei has a soul in Ava. She is his favourite princess, which he spoils impossibly. On Mila's reproachful looks, "Why are you buying her 20th doll?" He only spreads his hands. Ivochka also loves Daddy. Mila even sometimes seems to Mila that much stronger than her, but she is not offended. Mila is a psychologist by education, works as a psychotherapist, and she knows how important her father's love is for a girl, because it is the foundation for happy relationships with the opposite sex in the future. Mila also always tries to talk through problems with her husband, so they have almost no serious quarrels and conflicts. They have a completely ordinary, average family, an apartment in the mortgage, a car and a small cottage 50 kilometers from the city. And then, as if out of the blue, a mistress. Mila found out about her by accident. A few days ago, Alexei was in the shower when his phone rang. He shouted to his wife, "It must be my father. He promised to call in the evening. You come over, I can't yet." Mila had never before answered for her husband on calls addressed to him, but since he had asked for it, why not talk to her father-in-law? She walked over to the nightstand where the phone lay and was about to pick it up to answer it when she suddenly noticed that someone else was calling. The call was in Messenger, and in addition to the contact's name, Kitten, there was a picture visible. When Mila looked at it, she couldn't believe her eyes. The contact's picture was of an unfamiliar young girl in an embrace with her husband. How was that even to be understood? Mila felt dizzy and stood there not knowing what to do. Answer the phone. Talk to the girl. While she was deciding, the call cut off. Mila wanted to move away from the unfortunate phone away and never see it again, as suddenly she heard the sound of an incoming message. She couldn't resist and looked at the screen. "Lioshik, I'm working 2 halves next week from Monday. Stop by Coffee Paradise by the end of your shift. I want to treat you to a specialty coffee. Love you, miss you." Next came the smiley faces. Mila yanked her hand away from Alexei's phone, as if it were not a smartphone but a Viper. She was still hesitant. though there could be no double entendres here. Kitten in her husband's arms, a call, a text. Yes, as hard as it was to find out the truth, it seemed her husband had taken a mistress. I wonder how long they've been dating, and what kind of relationship are they having? A light fling, or is it serious? What difference does it make? For Mila, it's a real shock and a blow either way. She needs to think it over. Alexei came out of the bathroom and asked if she had talked to her father. Mila replied that she didn't have time to get to the phone and didn't see who was calling. Then she cited a headache and said she needed to go to the pharmacy. She didn't go to any pharmacy, of course. Mila sat down on a bench in a small square near the house and began to think about what to do next. She scrolled through their entire married life with Alexei, but could not find the moment when the marriage had cracked or something went wrong. However, it is necessary to face the truth. Mila is not the kind of woman who will pretend that nothing happened and will continue to sail in the family boat, despite the fact that there is a huge hole and it will soon go to the bottom. But it's not her style to make scandals to find out what's going on. No, she prefers to discuss everything calmly and make balanced decisions, no matter how hard they may seem. Mila's first desire was to approach Alexei and honestly ask about Kitten. But then she would have to explain how she read the message on his phone. No, she needed something else. Then Mila remembered that, in a week, she and Alexei had an anniversary, 10 years of marriage. They planned to go to a cosy cafe together with Eva, and then on the weekend, their parents were to come to them. How can one celebrate now after such news? Mila felt very hurt. She even burst into tears. It is necessary to come home, collect her husband's things and put out the door. Let him go to his kitten, or to all four sides, in general, as he wishes. Then she pulled herself together. Mila thought of her daughter. How would Eva survive their breakup? After all, she's a real daddy's girl. This would break her. What about the mortgage? What to tell her parents? What about the fact that she, Mila, loves Alexei? That's when she really got a headache. Suddenly Mila remembered that she knew the name of the cafe where her husband's mistress worked. She knew her work schedule. And the most surprising thing was that she had seen a photo of what the mistress looked like. So maybe she should go there and see the divorcee with her own eyes. Maybe even talk to her. Mila spent the next few days as in a terrible dream, although she couldn't sleep. She had insomnia, no appetite. She pretended everything was all right. But her condition could not escape her daughter and her husband. She answered that she was just very tired at work, that she had a difficult case, that she would probably have to undergo supervision. Eva only hugged her mother, not knowing how to help her, and Alexei looked at his wife incredulously. So, after a few days, Mila had so exhausted herself with doubts and worries that she just firmly said to herself, "We must. It is necessary to go to this coffee house and look at the kitten. Otherwise, she will not calm down." "I'll have a latte and some dessert," Mila ordered. "What do you advise me?" "We have a good honey cake," Katya recommended. "Okay, give me a honey cake." When her husband's mistress brought the order, Mila barely touched it. The coffee was so-so, and the honey cake, well, the most ordinary, nothing supernatural. There are few people in the coffee shop. Of course, at 11 in the morning, it is like this in almost all cafes. Mila deliberately chose the time so that she could exchange a few words with the waitress. Her calculation was justified. 10 minutes later, Katya came up to her and delicately asked, "You almost didn't touch the dessert. Didn't you like it? Do you want me to bring something else?" No, it's not about the honey cake. I just have no appetite. I think about different things. Sorry, I won't distract you." "No, Katya, you're not distracting. I'm thinking about what to do next. Finish the dessert or go file for divorce. Which would you choose?" Mila looked at Katya inquiringly. The visitor probably did not seem quite out of her mind. "I didn't have to make such a choice." "And if I had to? Imagine if you found out that your husband was cheating on you." Katya did not answer. She silently looked at Mila, and she seemed to have decided to change the subject. "Have you been working here for a long time?" About a year, the waitress replied cautiously. Are you a student? Yes. Katya looked at the visitor with obvious disbelief, but still answered. And who are you studying to be, if it's not a secret? At the University of Culture, she hesitated a little. In the creative specialty. Interesting. And you must have a well-developed imaginative thinking. I don't know what you mean. Well, for example, could you get used to the role of a deceived wife, or, say, a mistress, to feel in their shoes? Katya was silent, but it was clear that she was nervous. Mila decided to interrupt this meaningless conversation. She suddenly realized that she shouldn't have come here after all. Well, she saw Katya, and what next? Maybe she should grab the insidious lovebird's hair or pour cold and tasteless latte over her. Will it make her feel better? Definitely not. Mila involuntarily winced and tiredly asked, Bring the bill. When Katya returned to the table, the strange visitor disappeared. There was only money left on the tablecloth, and with a good tip, Katya looked out the window and sighed sadly for some reason. In the cafe, Mila made a decision. She will celebrate the 10th anniversary of her wedding with Alexei, as planned. Don't deprive a child of a holiday. She knew that Eva was preparing for this day, drawing a poster for her parents. This day will pass, and then she will talk about everything with Alexei. And so she and Alexei, in their favourite cafe, together with Eva, celebrate a round date. 10 years of marriage. What kind of wedding is this? Pewter? Wooden? More like glass. My marriage is about to break, and I'm pretending that everything is fine, Mila thought to herself. The festive dinner was coming to an end, when suddenly Alexei winked mischievously at Eva and said, What is a holiday without a cake? My daughter shouted joyfully. I want a cake. Sure, I have the largest piece. Alexei gave someone a signal, and they began to bring out the cake. Mila looked at all this only out of a desire not to upset her daughter, when suddenly she saw who exactly was bringing out the cake. To say that she was surprised is to say nothing. It was Katya herself, or Kitten, or her husband's mistress. She could be called anything, but there was no doubt that it was her. Katya put the birthday cake on the table and remained standing next to her. Alexei smiled kindly at her and then turned to his wife. Happy anniversary, dear. This cake is for you. The animator came to the table and invited Eva to take part in the game. She went. Mila could not squeeze out a single word. Then Alexei came to the rescue. As I learned, you already know Katya. She politely nodded to Mila. Our love with you is not afraid of any trials. Thank you for having you. He wanted to kiss Mila, but she pulled away. Miele, it was a prank. Yes, stupid and perhaps unfunny, but what a joke it turned out to be, Mila asked. You see, I went to a special agency. They hold unusual holidays. For each case, a script is written and actors are selected. For you and me, it is my betrayal. But you are so good. You have so much endurance and wisdom that I just take my hat off. How lucky I am to have you. He wanted to hug his wife, but she pulled away again. So you mean that you don't have a mistress? No, Alexei replied happily. And Katya is a professional actress. I am still studying, the mistress gave her voice. And I work part-time in a cafe and in the agency, of course, too. You behave so decently, Mila. Not like some wives. Someone poured coffee on me, someone cursed at the whole establishment, and you calmly talked like that and also left a tip. I have no words. Mila looked dumbfounded at her husband, then at Katya. Lyosha, does such a prank seem funny to you? Appropriate? Valid? Her voice broke, and she almost turned to screaming. Katya wanted to leave, but Mila stopped her with a gesture. For the first time in his life, Alexei saw his wife screaming. Always balanced and calm, she gave vent to her emotions. Do you at least understand how I spent all these days? Why did you come up with the idea of such a prank before our anniversary? You see, Mila, Alexei began to explain, you're always so restrained. Not in you. I don't know if it's spicy, so I decided to stir up our relationship. Yes, that was stupid of me. Mila could hardly restrain herself from indignation. Katya nevertheless seized the moment and retreated from the battlefield. Oh, do you lack spice? Well, get it. She picked up the dish with the cake and smeared it on her husband's face. Here's the pepper and the filling. Alexei tried to remove the cake cream from his face with his hands, but he did not succeed. Finally, he succeeded. Are you completely stunned? No, dear, Mila sang in a gentle voice. I just decided to spice up our relationship a little. With these words, she got up and went to the exit. What's wrong with you? Alexei shouted after her. Mila stopped, turned around and said with feeling, It would be better if he cheated. Then she went up to Ava, took her hand, and they left the cafe. Outside, she breathed in the refreshing evening air and suddenly laughed. Mummy, what's wrong with you? What made you laugh? Nothing, daughter. I just remembered one anecdote. Will you tell me? Of course, but first we need to have a serious conversation. You see, we're going to have to live apart from Dad for a while. Forever? Ava made frightened eyes. I don't know yet, Mila answered honestly. Time will tell. Are you with me? Eva nodded in agreement, and they walked forward along the evening street. Today, we are completing our journey into the world of human relations. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share our content. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to seeing you in the next story.